In this presentation, we're going to look at parts of speech. What are parts of speech? What are the different types of words we have in language, and what their functions are in the sentence? And also, how can we tell them apart? So we'll look at suffixes and the position of the word in the sentence. And finally, we'll think about why it's important to know all this. So looking at the first 3 verses of this poem, we can learn quite a lot about parts of speech. For example, we saw in the previous quiz that this word could be replaced with either writhe or whimper, but not with whimsical or weariness. This just doesn't make sense. This is because we need a verb in this position. An adjective or a noun won't do. In the second verse, the same is true for frumious. This is obviously an adjective and so has to be replaced with another adjective. That's why pendulous works, but malodor, which is a noun, doesn't. So part of speech refers to different categories of words in terms of what the word does in the sentence. So let's start with verbs. As we saw in the previous lesson, the verb is a core element of the sentence. It's the doing word, the action, and sometimes a state. Here are some examples. Can you spot the odd one out? We also saw from the previous lesson that verbs are generally positioned after the subject of the sentence. So, can you spot the verb or verbs in the following sentences? So now on to nouns. Nouns express the name of a person, a thing, or an idea. So if we look back at the Jabberwocky, we can see a noun here, and here, and here. If we substituted real words, it might look like this. Notice how this word, the, goes with a lot of nouns. Now, there are different types of nouns. Proper nouns are used to name a specific person, thing, or place, whilst common nouns name a general person, place, or thing. Here are some examples. We also have concrete and abstract nouns. Look at the difference between these words. One group is tangible, concrete, whilst the other you can't hear, see and touch them. Another common type of noun is the gerund. Here's an example. This is a noun formed out of a verb. All gerunds end in ing. Here are some more examples. Adjectives are the next main group. Here's an example from the poem, and here are some possible substitutions. Adjectives are describing words. They clarify or modify nouns by giving information about the size, the colour, shape, type, origin, etc. Adjectives often go before the noun which it's describing, like in these examples. Alternatively, they can be used as complements in sentences like these. Let's move on to adverbs. Here are some examples. Adverbs are really common words that are similar to adjectives in that they modify or describe. So they either describe verbs like this, or they modify adjectives like this. They can also give information about place, time, or degree. Adverbs are pretty flexible words. They have lots of functions and their position in a sentence is very variable. Okay, now how do we identify word class or part of speech? Well, one way is to look at the position in the sentence, but also to notice any words that accompany that word. So, for example, I know this is a noun because it goes with a or the. This one I know is a verb because it's after the subject. I can also make it into the past tense by adding ed. Another thing to look at is the suffix. That means the bit at the end of the word. This often tells you what the word class is. So, for example, here are some adjectives. Notice how they often end in ous or al. There are a lot of different suffixes, and we'll look at them in more detail later in the course. But for now, here are a few more. We've had a whistle-stop tour of parts of speech. There are actually 8 different word classes, and we've looked at 4. We've looked at nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. The others are conjunctions, pronouns, prepositions, and interjections. An important question is, why do we need to know about parts of speech? Well, understanding parts of speech is key to understanding grammar, that is, the way words combine to form sentences. And when we're teaching English, we need to know grammar in order to explain why something is wrong and to help that student correct it. In the next few activities, we'll practice identifying parts of speech.